What's going on, Bills fans? This is Bills Latest. Again, we are brought to you by FanArc. And let's go over a potential 26th overall first round pick. Peter Woods, out of Clemson. Pretty big guy. Pretty big guy. But the thing that I'm seeing, a lot of weaknesses as far as across all linemen. You know what the most common one is that just keeps getting held against these guys? T-Rex arms. Are arms that important, I guess? You go to this guy's bio and you look at his strengths, great strengths. Explosive, sudden inside, strong awareness when shedding blocks and diagnosing blocking schemes, gets off the pass rusher quick, can win with speed or power. Like the guy's a stud. He's being compared to Dexter Lawrence. But then you go down to the weaknesses, and here it is. Lacks the ideal arm length, scouts Cavay. But he gets off with power. So what is it? What is it about these arms? Him, Ruben Bain? I would take Ruben Bain in a second. Watching that guy play in Miami, he was just all over the field. And he was getting at I didn't see short arms, T-Rex arms being a problem for him. Now, Woods had a little bit of a down year last year, but before that, his previous 2 seasons were electric. And Clemson kind of stunk last year. So it's hard to, again, when you're on defense and if your offense stinks and you're out there all the time, it's hard to be good consistently. You're just so tired. You're just absolutely dogged out there. But if you're telling me the biggest weakness on this guy is potential T-Rex arms, I'm taking him. That is one of his biggest weaknesses. I don't care. If the guy's a stud athlete, the guy's a stud athlete. He's going to get off the line. He might just plow right through you. Oh, but the offensive tackle is going to get his hands on him quicker. Okay. What if he just plows through those hands? It all depends on the athlete, man. And I'm sure they've had him in for a workout. But the biggest comp is Dexter Lawrence. That's who Bills fans want. They want the real Dexter Lawrence. But you'd have to give up an arm and a leg to get him. And I've said it before. I don't want to pay a ton of money to one guy on the defensive side of the football. Especially Lawrence, who's a little bit older, is going to command a big contract. Those D-line contracts, man, they're 50-50 when you pay him that big money. And I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze there with Dexter Lawrence. Especially if you could get a guy who's being compared to him in Peter Woods. And he'll be on the relative cheap compared to Dexter Lawrence. If I'm spending that capital, and I get it all the time in the comment section, he just cares about the offense. He just wants to shore up the offense. I want to shore up that third down in the red zone. So or that third and short where you don't get stuck in the playoffs. I want that wide receiver that can get me those 10 yards and body somebody up. We don't even know if Leonard might love who he has in there. He might be saying, we just need a few pieces here and there. I like the guys we have. Some of these guys have been underperforming, and they were early picks. They were day 2 picks. They might flourish in this defense. And I personally think these draft picks, if you're keeping them and using them, I'm using them on the defensive side of the football. Because at 26, the wide receiver you get is 50-50 at best, where somebody like a Peter Woods is more like a 70-30. I would not use my draft capital on offense. I would use it on defense. I am willing to use it on defense. I'm willing to find pieces for that defense, but through the draft. I don't want to use a ton of draft picks or eat up a ton of salary cap on a Dexter Lawrence to just bring him in. Again, I've said it before. Myles Garrett had the sack record last year. What was it? 19, 20 sack, whatever it was. Call it 20 for just argument's sake, because I forget off the top of my head. That's only 20 times he actually truly made a play on the field. Yes, he stopped runs and he ate up runs and things like that. Maybe got to a pass rush and things like that, made the quarterback make some decisions. But how good were the Browns? How good were the Raiders with Max Crosby, who is another guy coveted to go somewhere and be the difference maker? I just don't see it. I'd rather like a Micah Parsons. That I would spend on a Micah Parsons, a linebacker or a difference maker in the deep end, a cornerback or safety before I spent on the line. I just would. Because you can get linebackers and safeties that can get at your quarterback. I want my front guys to just be able to stuff the run. But that's just me from the defensive side of the ball. And as far as offense and the potential wide receiver free agents that are still out there, now A.J. Brown, probably not going to happen, but if it happened, electric. All for it. He is the best, besides George Pickens. That'd be whew, Georgie Pickens. But that's Dallas. Who knows what's going on there? He'll be available soon. But guys that are realistically available, Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, and Keenan Allen. I'm curious what Bills fans would think if one of those guys came in. Jennings is going to be the most expensive out of those three. But Jennings was called third and Juan. They would go to him in the red zone and on whatever third down, and he would come up clutch. Loves to run block. Like, that is an all-around wide receiver. That's basically Deebo Samuel at a younger age. I wouldn't hate it. His salary's a little steep. That would have to get reworked. I wouldn't want him for that price. That would have to get reworked. But Deebo, DeAndre, and Keenan, out of those guys, the least I would want is Hopkins. I feel like he's just gotten a little slower and he can't, I don't know. He hasn't really done it. Deebo, still, the biggest thing with Deebo, the biggest red flags with him is all the injuries, all the bang-ups, all the bruises. But the guy loves football. And the guy would fit into a Buffalo scheme where they love little dink and dunks. He was used all the time as a wide receiver for a screen option and also in the backfield as a running back before Christian McCaffrey got there. The guy likes to run hard. Now, is that the guy that gets you that third down or that goal line touchdown? I don't know. I don't think so. More of a, at this point, more of a gadget kind of player. But now, Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen in the red zone. If they're so confident in DJ Moore and Shakir to be able to stretch the field, you really just need that big body. You need that guy that can get up and get a ball. And Keenan Allen's done that his whole life. Keenan Allen would be a sneaky little pickup. And I don't think he's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And he's a guy who wants a Super Bowl and would probably be more willing to come to Buffalo. Not a bad option. Personally, I like all of these options better than the wide receiver that's going to fall at 26. Because you're not going to get one of these top guys. It'll be a Denzel Boston, who's a hope and a prayer, a half court, chuck it up and just hope. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. This window doesn't have time for hope. They got to be winning now. Somebody that's been winning on his end of the football, Keenan Allen, his whole career, I trust that more than bringing in a guy at 26. Call me crazy, but I truly do. I truly do. because again, I just don't want to take the risk and take the time to develop a guy. All four of those guys, Jennings, Debo, Hopkins, and Allen, plug and play. They've seen it all, especially Jennings and Debo. They're coming from Shanahan's offense, where there's more motion than that. That is where the whole motion started. Shanahan had the motion, still has the motion. So those guys know what they're doing. And to me, to be able to just plug and play and not have to spend as much time teaching and more time actually strategizing and seeing how, all right, how do we beat whoever week one is basically out of the gate and not having to teach too much, that's an advantage. That's an absolute advantage. That's why these teams that have head coaches come rolling in and out, it's always tough. That's why it's tough in Cleveland. You're always learning something new. As soon as you learn a new scheme, it's boom, on to the next one because that guy just got canned. So I think we got to show a little faith in Leonard, and maybe he thinks he has the pieces. And you can't really judge him because we haven't seen his defense. Some of these guys might flourish in that defense, but we'll see. We're definitely going to find out. And I'm kind of curious, like, Bills Mafia, are you keeping or are you trying to package that 26 pick? Like, what are you doing with that 26 pick? You using it? I'm probably, me personally, I'm holding until at least day of draft, possibly even through pick 10 or 15. If I see the guy that is available that I want, I'm probably keeping it and just hoping that he gets to me. But if all the guys that I truly want are already gone at that point, I'm moving back. I'm moving back, or I'm calling Philly, or I'm calling these other teams and saying, hey, do you want this pick for one of those wide receivers? Hands down. The only one, like I said, questionable is Jennings. That salary would need to be reworked. Again, he's a free agent, so you don't even have to give up the pick. All those guys, you don't have to give up the pick. But you might be able to move back to free up some cap space. But let me know, Bills fans, what you would do with all this stuff. It is getting crazy. We're getting closer and closer to draft day. Again, we appreciate you guys watching and listening. Again, hope you hit that like and subscribe button down below. We're trying to get to 50 subs. And again, we're brought to you by FanArc, and we'll be back with more great stuff for you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much.